On a rainy Liverpool night in 2007, Colin Smeigger Smith walked out of a Speke gym and straight into a nightmare, felled by 2 shotgun blasts from an unseen killer who was gone before police could blink. No witnesses, no fingerprints, no arrests in sight. Was this a revenge hit from a Colombian cartel claiming a £72 million debt, or a Liverpool rival settling scores? Today, we'll sift the evidence, from a vanished shipment to a 6-year manhunt. This is the story of how this quiet kingpin paid the ultimate price for broken trust. Welcome to Crime Pulse. If you're new and craving more UK underworld truths, hit subscribe, like, and ring the bell. Join our community unraveling the cases that won't die. In the early 1980s, Liverpool, a historic port battered by economic collapse and mass unemployment, gripped the nation with a surge in gang violence and drug addiction, earning the stark label Smack City. Heroin and cocaine overwhelmed the streets, transforming trafficking into a shadowy, multi-million-pound industry overnight. Local gangs, seizing the opportunity, forged direct pipelines to South American cartels that dominated 80% of the global drug market. For young men from impoverished estates, these alliances represented a desperate lifeline out of poverty, a path from petty crime to sudden wealth. In mere months, street-level dealers were amassing fortunes, fueled by notorious players like the Colombian Cartel. But amid this boom, one figure would rise to eclipse them all, reshaping Liverpool's underworld forever. From the chaos of Smack City emerged Curtis Warren, a Toxteth native whose ascent from street dealer to kingpin exemplified the era's ruthless opportunism. By the late 1980s, Warren had consolidated control over vast swathes of the UK's cocaine and heroin imports, earning a spot on the Sunday Times rich list with an estimated £120 million fortune, equivalent to nearly £500 million in today's terms. His operation, relying on audacious transatlantic shipments, generated headlines for its scale and audacity. Yet Warren's dominance unraveled in 1992 when Dutch authorities seized a massive Colombian consignment at Rotterdam port, triggering his arrest and a 12-year sentence for drug smuggling. Behind bars, the empire he built fractured, creating a perilous power vacuum that ambitious operators rushed to fill, and none would navigate it more discreetly than Colin Smith. Into this fractured landscape stepped Colin Smith, a Huyton resident whose unassuming rise belied his pivotal role in sustaining Liverpool's drug trade. Known on the streets as Smeigger, he balanced the life of a devoted father of 4 and a quietly respected neighbor, humble, soft-spoken, and often seen as just another local entrepreneur with ventures in property and small-scale imports. Yet intelligence reports and court documents reveal a stark duality. Beneath this facade, Smith orchestrated a sophisticated network that funneled cocaine across continents, reportedly handling consignments worth tens of millions annually. His operations, built on direct ties to Colombian cartels, routed shipments from South American ports, often concealed in legitimate cargo like fruit exports, to European hubs like Spain's Costa del Sol and Amsterdam's docks, then smuggled them into Britain via hidden compartments in vehicles or sold outright to expatriate networks and fugitive gangsters basking on the continent. Despite amassing millions, Smith shunned ostentation, driving a modest Ford Mondeo and favoring worn Lacoste shirts to evade scrutiny from rivals and law enforcement alike. In an underworld rife with betrayal and volatility, associates described Smith not as a typical dealer, but as a methodical international operator. His reputation for prompt payments and unbreakable word, securing rare trust from suppliers who valued his reliability over flashier competitors. This calculated discretion, however, would soon demand a key enforcer to safeguard it all. To shield this expanding network, Smith relied on Stephen Lawler, his trusted lieutenant, recruited initially for unyielding loyalty and raw intimidation, but soon elevated for far more. By the late 1990s, Lawler had carved out a fearsome reputation in Liverpool's underworld, heading a syndicate of nightclub bouncers that enforced control over the city's pulsating nightlife through calculated threats and swift violence. Police records from the era document over a dozen assaults tied to his firm. Far from mere muscle, Lawler emerged as Smith's indispensable conduit to the Colombian cartels, leveraging his street-honed instincts and emerging business savvy to broker high-stakes deals. Sources, including later informant testimonies, describe him as the operation's iron fist, complementing Smith's cerebral strategy with his own acumen, eventually earning autonomy to negotiate directly with suppliers. This trust peaked in spring 2001, when Lawler orchestrated a 500-kilogram cocaine importation from South America, valued at £72 million on the street after dilution. The consignment, shipped on credit to Amsterdam's quayside for retrieval by his team, was primed for processing. The raw 500 kilograms would be cut and bulked to yield 900 kilograms, maximizing profits once distributed in Britain. In this high-wire world of deferred payments, such a load represented not just opportunity, but existential peril, for any hint of deception could shatter alliances built on credit and codes of honor. Yet just months later, on May 19th, Lawler would fall victim to the very feuds his past had ignited, leaving Smith exposed and the shipment's fate unresolved. Lawler's downfall came swiftly on May 19, 2001, a stark reminder of how personal vendettas in Liverpool's door wars could eclipse even the largest drug operations. Court records paint a picture of simmering resentment from the nightclub security sector, an opaque realm of extortion, territorial disputes, and deep-seated grudges, where Lawler's aggressive expansion had long marked him as a target. That afternoon, after a routine shopping trip with his mother in the Netherley area near his home, Lawler returned to find a nondescript transit van idling nearby. Inside lurked Peter Clark, an ex-soldier turned security heavyweight flanked by 3 accomplices. The ambush unfolded with brutal efficiency. The group sprang from the vehicle, guns drawn, as Lawler fled on foot. Initial shots echoed through the quiet street, but the pursuers closed in, delivering close-range bursts to his torso and head that left no chance of survival. Autopsy reports confirmed multiple fatal wounds. Clark and his associates, including Kevin Parle, the fugitive enforcer believed to have delivered the killing shots, faced conviction in 2002 for the murder, with prosecutors linking it directly to a protracted feud over dominance in Liverpool's £10 million a year door racket. Clark, however, secured acquittal on retrial in 2003 amid evidentiary disputes. Lawler's death not only severed Smith's vital cartel link, but thrust the unresolved £72 million shipment into sharper focus, forcing Colin to confront suppliers alone amid mounting suspicions. With Lawler silenced, investigative trails suggest Smith moved decisively to secure the vulnerable consignment, quietly retrieving the 500 kilograms from Amsterdam's quayside and dispersing it through a sprawling network of UK and European dealers, yielding profits estimated at €20 million after street-level sales. When Colombian suppliers later demanded payment months overdue, Smith reportedly deflected, insisting the load had vanished into Dutch customs hands, a claim initially met with reluctant acceptance due to his decade-long record of reliability. This fragile truce shattered, however, through testimony from an insider, Stephen the Blonde French, a Dutch-based lieutenant in Smith's orbit, who turned informant and disclosed to the cartel that the shipment had been deliberately concealed in a Rotterdam warehouse, then liquidated piecemeal to local syndicates, with Smith siphoning the full proceeds untaxed. French's revelations, corroborated by intercepted communications and later Europol probes, ignited cartel fury, transforming suspicion into certainty of outright theft. In this precarious ecosystem, absolution for a lost load often hinged on a yellow paper, the yellow carbon duplicate of an official seizure notice, or a press clipping of the bust, allowing criminals to forgive debts in the millions and resume a trade. Smith's failure to produce any such proof, despite repeated demands, effectively signed his death warrant, as cartel enforcers placed a contract on him valued at up to £1 million. For the next 6 years, Smith maintained an uneasy equilibrium, as if the cartel's contract hung in suspended animation amid the fallout from his betrayal. Public records and financial audits show him pivoting toward legitimacy. By 2003, he had quietly acquired a chain of car washes in Merseyside and invested in rental properties along Spain's Costa del Sol, a notorious haven for British fugitives and cartel intermediaries, where his holdings reportedly generated £200,000 annually in clean revenue. These moves, insiders suggest, reflected a deliberate diversification, steadily weaning his operations off drug-sourced funds while insulating his family from scrutiny. Yet this interlude was no true respite. Merseyside police surveillance logs from the period noted increased cartel chatter and aborted hit attempts, underscoring Smith's acute awareness that no empire, however diversified, could outrun its debts indefinitely. Inevitably, the shadows of 2001 would resurface, culminating in a meticulously planned reckoning on a winter night in 2007. The fragile peace shattered on November 13th, 2007, when shadows from the 2001 betrayal finally closed in on a cold winter evening around 8 p.m. After dropping his son at football practice in his Ford Galaxy, Smith drove unaware into a web of surveillance. Intelligence later pieced together from mobile records and witness statements suggests his assassin, a contracted professional with a history of clean hits, had infiltrated Liverpool days earlier, staking out routines for the ideal window. This was no impulsive act, but a precision-engineered operation, likely greenlit by cartel intermediaries. Forensics would confirm the use of a sawn-off shotgun, a favored tool for its devastating stopping power at close quarters, signaling an intent to eliminate any survival odds. Arriving at Nello's gym in Speke, Smith entered for what records describe as a routine meeting with an Underworld contact over legitimate business matters. The trap sprung via a single text from a Manchester-registered burner phone, luring him outside with a fabricated, urgent business alert, as traced by Operation Nike analysts. Stepping into the dimly lit service road near the Millhouse pub, Smith faced a masked figure emerging from concealment. 2 point-blank blasts to the abdomen and chest tore through him instantly, the weapon's pattern matching known cartel-supplied armaments. Within minutes, he lay lifeless on Alloway Road, the hit's clinical execution leaving investigators to unravel motives that spanned continents and years. The assassin's composure was forensic in its efficiency. Rather than fleeing in disarray, he melted into the night, a hallmark of seasoned operatives that forensics teams would later cite as evidence of professional orchestration. Smith crumpled to the Alloway Road pavement, clinically exsanguinated within seconds from the shotgun's trauma. Paramedics arriving just after 8:15 p.m. pronounced him dead at the scene, transforming a nondescript Speke backstreet into a cordoned-off tableau of spent casings and chalk outlines. Merseyside police mobilized swiftly, initiating Operation Nike within hours. Early leads included eyewitness reports of a silver BMW accelerating away from the service road, its plates traced to a false registration linked to Manchester circles, alongside intercepted chatter hinting at a £1 million bounty fulfillment. Detectives, piecing together burner phone pings and CCTV fragments, lent credence to the setup theory. The gunman, presumed a cartel-vetted hitman, had likely boarded a flight from Liverpool John Lennon Airport before full perimeter seals locked down the area, evading initial sweeps. Detective Graham Naylor, leading the probe, underscored the case's intricacies in a 2008 briefing. Mr. Smith was a businessman with property, developments, and diverse interests. I believe it probable he was murdered over one of those. He led a complex life, making this a complex investigation, yet it's ongoing, with a dedicated team pursuing leads for a family robbed of a husband and father. This immediate forensic scramble set the stage for years of dogged inquiry, where speculation would collide with scant hard evidence. In the vacuum of hard evidence, whispers among Liverpool's underworld and beyond coalesced into persistent rumours, with many in criminal circles attributing Smith's execution to long-simmering cartel vengeance over the vanished 2001 consignment, a theory bolstered by anonymous sources who claimed Colombian enforcers had finally settled the score. Yet this narrative raised probing questions. If cartel sicarios were indeed dispatched, why the protracted 6-year lag, particularly amid reports of earlier attempts thwarted by intensified Merseyside police patrols and surveillance in the wake of Lawler's high-profile slaying? Alternative theories pointed closer to home, positing that local rivals, perhaps from entrenched Huyton or Speke factions eager to dismantle Smith's lingering influence, had orchestrated the hit, capitalizing on his perceived vulnerabilities. Police briefings and investigative files acknowledge how such chatter, while fueling leads and suspect lists, holds limited sway. It may illuminate motives or prompt inquiries, but in the absence of forensic corroboration or eyewitness testimony, speculation evaporates in court, where only tangible proof secures convictions. As Operation Nike dragged on without breakthroughs, these competing narratives underscored the case's enduring opacity, mirroring broader challenges in prosecuting Merseyside's unsolved gangland killings. Nearly 2 decades later, as of 2025, The case's core enigmas endure. The perpetrators remain at large, and Operation Nike has yielded no arrests or convictions, emblematic of Merseyside's broader epidemic of unresolved violence. Police records indicate over 100 unsolved murders across the region since the 2000s, many tied to the same drug-fueled feuds that claimed Smith. While specific details of his widow's protracted £5 million life insurance dispute remain private, such claims in Underworld-linked cases often falter on policy exclusions for illicit activities, leaving families in financial limbo. The story's resonance extended to national scrutiny in a 2015 BBC Panorama investigation into Liverpool's Gangland Underworld, which spotlighted Smith's killing as part of a pattern of cartel reprisals and local power struggles. Smith's imprint on the UK's narcotics landscape persists. A master of stealth who amassed fortunes through precise, low-visibility operations, evading authorities until the end. Yet the Underworld's grim axiom holds eternal. In a life of shadows, it's death or prison. And Colin Smith met the former, a cautionary fate shared by countless others ensnared in the trade. Thank you for watching today's episode on Crime Pulse. If this deep dive into Liverpool's hidden wars has gripped you, like this video and click the subscribe button for more unflinching exposés on the cases that still haunt us. Hit that bell and join the pursuit of truth.